All right, welcome back to the 15th Club podcast presented by Elite Golf Schools. I'm Alex Lobeck, that's Alex Trevino, and we're here to bring you another episode of the podcast. Got another great edition. Big, huge thing that we're talking about this week, and kind of the theme that we're going to be discussing is how to handle adversity.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple experiences in the last month or so of some really solid adversity. Stuff that we really don't want to have to deal with, but we both definitely have. And so we're pretty much just going to share with you guys what we've been going through,
Yes.
How we've kind of handled things and what we're doing, in our lives today to kind of get past what we've been doing. Because It's been pretty, we've been kicked down pretty hard. And so it's a little different compared to what we have talked about, because now we've got some personal experiences that are, not exactly what we're looking for.
No, I would say going into November and then now being in December, it is not what we expected to be on this side.
Looking back on it, it's been a month now since kind of everything has occurred, maybe a little over a month. It's like, boy, this is not where I expected things to be.
Correct.
You see yourself on a path.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, I work towards that. I want that to be how I want it. And then you look back on it, you're like, no, not even close.
I was way off. The directions said turn left, and I made a hard right. I'm like, whoa, how did I get here?
All right, so before we get into anything, detailed, if you guys haven't listened to us before, we post the podcast on YouTube. If you're listening to it on Spotify, we obviously have it on Spotify. So if you aren't following us or you aren't subscribed to either of those accounts or channels, please do so now, because we're getting in the process of doing this a little more often. So we're going to be posting at least twice a month, hopefully more. So if you guys are enjoying what we're doing, please just make sure you guys let us know, leave some feedback, and we'd love to be able to hear what you guys have to say.
100%.
So, getting into it.
Yeah.
Let's lay the framework for it.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, people have no idea what we're going to be talking about.
Correct.
So I would say for the last, it's 2023 now? So for the last 5 years, Trevino and I we've played in the Nevada Open up in Mesquite, Nevada every single year. In November, great tournament. It's like my favorite tournament to play.
I always look forward to it.
It's a fun little trip up to Mesquite. The weather's a little nicer.
Yes.
We get to stay at a nice hotel. We get to play some nice golf courses for a couple days. We get to play in a nice golf tournament. There's a good purse. So it's just something that we look forward to.
Yeah, it's just
year.
a good way to kind of kick off what we would probably deem our competitive season, like the Phoenix Open qualifiers right around the corner. The weather's great, so we actually want to practice a lot. There's tournaments to play in from now till about April, May-ish, so it kind of is the kickoff to what would be our tournament season.
Yeah. And what would you say, I know we're a little different, what's your process like for getting ready for that tournament? Because I know it really is for us in Arizona. It's like the first competitive tournament we get to play in for 3 or 4 months.
Yes.
If we play in the AZ Open, from the AZ Open to the Nevada Open, there's a solid 3.5 months, and one of those months, all of our golf courses are closed.
Yes.
So what's your process for getting ready for that event?
Yeah, going into Nevada where, like you said, all the courses are closed for overseed and stuff. It's, luckily we have the facility here. It's hitting balls off the mat so we can still get swings in.
Yep.
Just trying to get reps. Putting, really, for me, it's putting at home on a mat. And until a golf course opens, you really can't tell how it's going to translate onto a golf course, or even for me, it's around the green short game stuff. So you're kind of going in with, I would say, 2/3 of your game probably feeling like it's in a good spot, but you still don't quite know because you've kind of been in this, these perfect conditions as far as practicing goes, or a controlled environment where everything feels good.
Yep.
But then you start playing, you're like, ooh, I did not see that coming in from my practice.
Well, and you also add on top of it, you've been going through a very specific swing change.
Yeah, I mean specific. It's more like, okay, I've been working on drills, trying to, frankly, see how it translates into the tournament setting. So yeah, for me, it was more, I need all the reps I can get to make this as much of my swing as it can be going into competition, because once you're in a competition, it's probably going to be half as much as what you've been seeing in practice.
Right. And so, we'll start with you, because we both went into the tournament with, certain intentions and, going to play. And both of us have dealt with a little bit of adversity on very different scales. short story is I didn't even go play.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Trev actually went and traveled and did play, and got kicked in the teeth.
Yeah. I played all right.
And we're talking about dealing with adversity. And so why don't you just kind of like lay out the tournament, just so we can we're just gonna rip the Band-Aid off,
Oh, yeah.
and then we'll kind of dive into it. So just kind of give everyone an idea for what the tournament looked like.
Yeah, so in this tournament, you play 2 different courses. So day 1 is at one course, day 2 is another course. And then after the cut, day 3, everyone's on one track. So I got up there a couple days early, played a practice round on each course just to get familiar, honestly just swing a lot and just see how the game is, how the courses are heading into the tournament. And honestly, kind of from the opening bell, from kind of getting warmed up into playing, I could tell things were just off, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to worry about it too much because it's a practice round.
Right.
Let's just focus on where the pin placements are, check my green book, make sure that's still the same, where to miss it, where not to miss it. More like just verifying. And that's what's nice about playing in this tournament so much is for us, it's like we kind of know the answers to the test.
Yeah.
It's now, can you perform?
Right.
And so day 1, I was like, man, this is kind of shaky. I'm going to go hit some more balls and see if I just got to keep grooving it. Fast forward to day 2, it was a little better, but same tendencies. And I'm like, man, okay, tournament's tomorrow. This is I don't think this is going anywhere. So what do we, my mind kind of starts going what are we going to do to get through the round? And I texted Ian, our director. I'm like, Ian, you can keep this simple for me. Take a look. Just what do you think? He's like, okay, this and this. Perfect. So kind of grooving it that night. Show up early, practice. I'm like, okay, this is feeling better. Great. Probably the best range session of the week was warming up for round 1. And I was like, okay, we're all right. And I was playing the easier of the 2 courses in my opinion. So I'm like, okay, we're going to go play and see how it goes.
I'm laughing because I know what's about to happen.
Yeah. And so I'm on this par 5, and you got to imagine, you're basically the top of a mountain. And there's this 100-foot drop to the fairway. And there's OB on the right, and you got this little canal that runs up the left. And so I'm going, hit this, every drive, mind you guys, every drive was down the middle. I'm like, cool, that'll work. First tee ball, old habit, quick left. And I go, okay, here we go. And honestly, it was 18 holes of the ball's going to go left, the ball's going to go right. I'm kind of thinking, what do I do? How do I get the ball in play? I turned into, from golf coach, I turned into just another golfer who's oh my gosh, what's going on? There's nothing I can tangibly grab onto to just survive the round. It was at a point where I was not playing well. I was not playing well. I was not going to sniff the cut.
Again, he's been going through a swing change for 5 months.
Yes.
So it's you still don't have that one feel that you can just kind of rely on to kind of get you through a round when things are hitting the fan.
Correct.
You're just kind of I don't know.
Maybe this one, no. Okay, maybe this one,
You just
no.
start searching
And
for
I mean,
things.
I'll give myself credit for cycling through the fields. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
I'll give you credit for finishing the round.
That too. It got bad.
So
I'm not gonna lie.
What'd you finish?
I finished all 18 holes, yes.
Yeah. No,
score?
What'd you shoot?
I shot 93.
Yeah.
Oof. And there was a point. I got to the 9th or 10th hole, and I hit a ball, and I got to the point where I was just physically done, and my dad caddied, and I was like, I'm about this close to walking off. I go, but I don't think I can do that because from a personal standpoint, if you're going to start the round, you should finish it. That's just my opinion. That's my maybe pride or ego or whatever. I was like, I'm going to get through this round or I'm going to run out of golf balls. One of those is going to happen. So from my mentality standpoint, I'm finishing this round from hell or high water, unless I obviously run out of golf balls and I can't finish it.
Yeah, and you're not thinking you don't start the round, you're I'm not going to run out.
Yeah, I've never had that thought. This was the first time, mid-term, I might run out of golf balls before I lose. I might run out of golf balls before I decide to walk off.
Yeah. So you're going through a round where it's you go into the tournament and it's okay, I'm here to perform at my best. Like, obviously, like when we show up to these tournaments, like our goal is to not just like, oh, have a good like 3 days and have fun. It's like, okay, make the cut, make some money, like really like compete with a lot of these guys, because a lot of the people that play in that tournament are people that we play against pretty
Mini
often.
tour state opens.
Right. So when you're in the middle of a round and you have zero idea what's happening in your golf game, like what was going through your head during the round?
A lot. I mean, it fluctuated from this is embarrassing to pissed. Like it went from like, I'm so embarrassed to be out here. This is a joke. You shouldn't be out here. To, dude, neither of those thoughts are going to help. The golf, like your swing is just going to be what it is. You might as well just like hunker down and power through it.
Yep.
And just get out of here. Like, just get out of here. And I kind of had the mentality of, well, if I'm going to play bad, I'm going to play bad fast. Because, like, these guys were doing obviously better. Some of them were actually, like, in the red. So I'm like, I need to just keep it moving because I don't want to throw their rhythm off, yada, yada. So, I mean, it definitely fluctuated from, like, this is dumb to this is a joke to don't be out here, just leave to it's one of those things where you just, like, I think it's like the 5 stages of grieving, but it's like the 5 stages of like a golf wreck. Like you like cycle through them, and you just kind of get to like, all right, just get through this, and like get over yourself and just get through it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it was. Everything. The first 6 holes, I was like, okay, because it's like a story, right? The story just starts like, well, there's still time to turn it around or right the ship, but then you get to like the meat of the round, 7 to 12. And whatever you're at or whatever you have is probably like what the rest of the round's going to be.
Usually.
So it was from that 7 to 12 range where I was like, okay, this is getting out of hand quick. And that's kind of when the mental roller coaster started. And then 13 through 18 was like, it can't get much worse. Like I've already gotten beaten up for 12 holes. Just finish.
Mm-hmm. I mean, good for you for
finishing. I didn't throw a club. I didn't throw a club. I was that was the other thing. I was like, I'm not going to look like an idiot. I'm going to play fast bad, and I'm not going to look like an idiot.
Oh, that's commendable because it's like it's very easy. Like you're shooting like very easily one of the worst rounds you've ever played.
Probably
in a like a legit tournament.
Yeah,
like it costs quite a bit of money to go play in this.
Yeah, that was an expensive lesson
for you to be able to like get through the round, stick to the round, not make a fool out of yourself, like be really like you were still like mentally composed.
Yeah. I didn't eject.
Is extremely admirable and something a lot of people would not be able to do.
I did not eject. Ejecting would have been like walking off the golf course and just like, F it, see you guys. Like I'm done.
Yeah.
Like just like, whoa, like that guy's got issues. I'm like, no, like I'm gonna take each punch and just get through it or run out of golf balls.
Yeah. So looking back, you've had a month now. Like
yeah.
Obviously, we're a month removed from the tournament. Like looking back on it, like, do you think there's a reason why things happened the way it did with like your swing, or like just the way the round went? Was there like a specific thing that may have caused it, or what do you think was the reason for it?
That's honestly a really good question because my default answer would be it's just where I was in the process of stuff. And I mean, part of it for me is, especially if you're like working on something and you're trying to change, I definitely toe the line of, do I just default to what I know to get through the round, or no, if you're not going to trust it in a competitive setting, then why are you even doing it? So for me, it was more the latter of I need to try and test it and see how I do. So almost, I don't like saying the tournament was an experiment, but I wanted to hold myself to that standard of you're going to walk up to each shot and you need to try and do what you've been working on, because if you can't, then why are you don't play in the tournament?
Right.
Just keep practicing. And I knew going in, like, I'm working on stuff. I know where my game's at. And part of it's probably ego, where like last year, both you and I made the cut.
Yep.
The first time I was like, okay, like the worry of not making the cut was gone. It was like, okay, like let's just like almost like house money this year, where it's like I've made the cut before. I'm going to assume I'm going to make the cut and just work on my game and test it at that level. I don't think it was like nerves or anything. To me, it was very just circumstantial of you've been working on it. My personal life's been crazy where I haven't practiced up to the level that it's been in the past to play at a higher level. So I think it was more of a culmination of all that stuff. And that was just the result under the most stress that swing and myself have been under in a golf setting. It was like, oh, yeah, you definitely reverted back to old patterns, trying to do that, and you're in this like half foot old swing, half or other foot new swing, and your brain's like, I don't know what you want me to do, so bah! And then the ball just goes, bah! And then you're just like, oh my God, this is bad. I mean, I was thinking about this today before we had our talk. I knew you were going to ask me questions. Like, Butch Harmon started working with Tiger, what, in 93? Kind of the Junior Am US Am run?
Yeah, right as he was like in the like senior year of high school.
Okay. So, and I'm not comparing myself to Tiger, just talking strictly process here. So, it took Tiger from when he started working with Butch from 93 or 94-ish to what everyone deems like the best swing or stretch of golf from 2000 to like 02.
Yep.
It took him 7 years. And he even said when they had that Golf Channel special with him and Butch on that one time of, you know, he practices more than anybody, and it hit, you know, thousands of golf balls, and it took him, he said 3 years more from like 97 to 2000 to really make the shift. So to me, that's more of a reminder of, I definitely don't practice as much as him.
Yep.
Like that's his job. It's not my job.
Correct.
Wish it was. It just takes a lot of reps. And I guess it'd be 6 months now into it. Like,
Yeah, you've like scratched the surface.
yeah, like it's fine. Like I'd break it up into like there's three things in this, like three phases of the swing I'm working on. I'm just kind of starting to own the first phase.
Right.
It's like, cool. Well, you still need to work on transition and finish. Oh, that's gonna be my old stuff, and
Yep.
it reverts. So that's why I don't worry about it as much, or I don't let it bother me, because it's like you've done this for 6 months, and before that it was 2 years of like no instruction. So it was me just kind of, well, I want to feel this today. So
Right.
yeah, I think it's kind of a side note here, but I think for anyone who's wanting to improve on anything, or in the golf sense, it kind of takes, you keep hearing like a team. It takes structure to make the change, implement the change, and keep it. It's really easy to revert back to old patterns.
Yep.
So the more you can do the pattern you want, the hope is less of the old pattern shows up. Because you're never going to get rid of the old pattern, you're just going to manage it.
Correct.
Well, enough about me. You didn't even go to Nevada.
Yeah, no, that was unfortunate.
I was very sad when I got the text where you're like, I don't think I'm going to be able to play.
Yeah, like that was like, for whoever doesn't know the backstory, the last podcast is pretty much about all of this, so I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about it. But basically, well, I was supposed to leave for Nevada on Saturday. We went to the gym on Wednesday. We had our like training session with our trainer that we usually do, and like I got done and I was like, I feel a little sore than usual, like my lower back area, and like I've unfortunately had issues with my lower back for my whole life, and now seeing X-rays, I know why. But like I woke up, or we got done Wednesday, and I was like, it doesn't feel right. And then throughout the rest of the day, it got to the point where like I pretty much couldn't stand up straight.
Yeah,
like,
you were laying on the floor.
Long story short, like I looked like I was 80 years old, and I was like walking with a hunch, and like I couldn't lay flat, I couldn't stand flat. Like went to the chiropractor. The chiropractor was like, yeah, your spine is like out of place. So I had to withdraw from the tournament, and that sucked. Like I don't think I've ever had to like withdraw from a tournament because of injury. So it was very like, that stunk. Like it was very, very not fun not being able to go up and play in the tournament.
Yeah. So like the first question I would have is, you know, me and you were practicing and gearing up for Nevada and doing, you know, whatever it is we're doing to get ready. More from either an emotional or a mental standpoint, like first contemplating or having the thought enter of, I might actually not be able to play, to I can't play and I have to tell them I'm not playing.
Yeah, I had to make all that, like all those decisions and all those thoughts came within like a 2-hour stretch.
Yeah.
Where like I went up, we went to work, and I was like walking around and like sitting there and being like, feeling things out. Like, okay, is this really like that bad? Am I going to wake up the next day and like, is it going to go away?
Yeah.
Like I really, because it was like 3 days from now, I had to leave, 6-hour drive, 5 rounds of golf, 6-hour drive back. Like, can my body handle this?
Yeah.
And I made a very much long-term decision. Like I could have waited it out a couple days and kind of like got a quick fix to maybe deal with it, just get through with it and play. And I was like, now we're unfortunately getting to the age where it's like I have to like take my physical health a little more seriously.
Yeah.
Like I can't just like push through it and kind of deal with it and let like future me deal with the repercussions of it. Like I was like,
I'm dealing with this now.
yeah, like I'm going to put forth my long-term like health into consideration here, and not so much like, obviously in the short term it sucked not being able to go play
100%.
like that stunk, but looking at it now, like I've had a month to talk with my chiropractors and kind of the people I'm working with, and now like physically I feel way better, and I think it's because I took the time to actually like make those adjustments in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, so emotionally, like it stunk because I was actually like hitting the golf ball really
Yeah.
well. Like my game was just sort of trending at the exact time I needed it to, which is tough to get sometimes. So I was like really pumped to go see how the golf game equated to a tournament. So like short term wise, like in the moment, like I felt disappointed because obviously having to make all those decisions and have to withdraw, and obviously, you know, I have this really fun plan to be able to go play, and now I can't. But looking back on it a month from now, it was the right decision.
For sure. Yeah. So, and like you just mentioned with your chiropractor, like you were telling me and one of the other coaches, Max, like you guys came up with a plan. I guess go into some detail of what that looks like and really how important that is when it comes to deciding, okay, I'm hurt, I'm going to handle this now, but either A, how long until you're back, or what's even the path? Because I can imagine from that Wednesday to the Saturday you pulled out, you're already trying to figure out, well, how do I get out of this? Or what's the way back to playing golf again?
Yeah, that was the first question I asked, and I made sure like the people I was working with kind of knew what they were doing. Like the first question I asked was like, one, what's our kind of plan together, right? Because there's a lot of like chiropractors or health people that'll just kind of like try to give you like the quick fix and like, hey, this is what you want to hear, we'll do this for you. Like, and I just really like I've researched enough and I've done enough work with myself. I know what I was looking for. So when they told me, it was like, they were like, okay, it's probably going to look like, based on where my spine looks and where it needs to get and all that, it's like a solid 3 months from the beginning of November to, you know, probably end of January, maybe early February, where it's like I'm in the chiropractor 3 days a week. I'm doing physical therapy, like I'm getting adjusted. I've got my own plan outside of, you know, treatment at the house that I do. Right, with our trainer Kyle, like I'm working on very specific stuff with him so that what I'm dealing with never comes back. Right, and like I think the short story is like the way I've been swinging the golf club for my whole life has impacted the way my spine has been molded and developed, and I'm obviously paying for the repercussions of that now. So talking with the chiropractor, talking with Kyle, talking with myself, it's like, okay, I need to be really committed to like, when I get done with this, I never have to do it again, because it sucks, man.
Yeah.
Like lower back pain's no joke, and I know you've dealt with a lot of like neck and wrist stuff. Like making sure you do something in the moment that may not benefit you short term, but pays off in the long term. Where, you know, in 3 or 4 months, if I just continually do the correct things, I'm never going to have to deal with this level of like injury again.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I'm looking for.
Right. Well, that's good. So I'm sure that was a relief when, you know, they go, here's the plan, here's kind of the timeline, here's what we're going to do, here's what you can do.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden you go from being in a completely dark room to, oh, the light switch is right there. Oh, the lights, you know, you see where you need to go.
Yeah. And one of the things that was beneficial and really cool to see was like within a week. So like from the Wednesday to the Wednesday, like if you looked at all of our coaches or anyone that saw me, like from Wednesday to Wednesday, they're like, yeah, you're a brand new person.
Yeah,
just by the way, like I was able to physically like walk and do like everyday activities without
you could grab
being
a
in
tee
pain.
off the ground.
Right. And so it was really beneficial to see how quickly the pain was going away based on what we were doing. So I knew what we were doing was going to work. It was more me being disciplined to like, okay, this is a slow process. Like I can't push myself back into it. Like I didn't touch a club for 3 weeks. Like even though like I started to feel better, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't pushing myself.
Yeah.
Right. Like small little chip shots, blah, 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 here and there is good to kind of see what I'm doing. But I wasn't going to like, I'm going to go play golf again. Like I'm not,
We're not
I'm
doing that.
smart enough to do that. Like, I don't think I started actually swinging the golf club again until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which was 3 or 4 weeks into the process. So unfortunately, I've had to deal with my lower back multiple times, but in doing so, I've kind of developed this very disciplined approach to taking care of my body, to where I know short-term wise, yes, I don't get to swing a golf club and I don't get to go play golf and I don't have the opportunity to go play in these tournaments, but I know 6 months down the line, a year down the line, my overall health from a physical, mental, emotional well-being is going to be much, much higher than it would be if I kind of put those things aside and kind of push myself to still playing. I would never fully kind of recover from what the body's going through.
You have a nagging pain every 6 months that would flare up, and then it's just...
And it's there's so many people that'll especially golf wise, it's people want to see short-term success, and sometimes they get clouded and blinded to what we're doing now in the short term may not look really good, but 6 months, a year from now, you're going to be surprised and amazed by how different you feel, which is exactly what you're going through. You're going through a very serious swing change.
Yeah.
And 6 months in, you're I just shot 93. I don't know where the golf ball's going.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Yeah. And if I wasn't in the business or didn't know as much as I know as far as motor patterning, coaching, golf in general, I'd be this guy stinks. I got worse, right? I came here to get better, and you make me worse.
Well, I'm paying you money.
Right.
You're telling me specific things to do. I'm doing them, and I'm disciplined to do them, and I've gotten worse.
Yeah. This guy stinks. And it's no, you're learning something new. Mm-hmm. You're trying to implement it, and so it's one of those things where it's like you just said, it's mortgaging the short term for the long-term payout.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is. And the short term is all relative for you. You're gonna short term or mortgage the first 3 months for the next rest of your life.
Right.
Golf swing might be short term is 6 months to a year and a half. It just depends. But then from year and a half on, you're in a better spot.
Yeah. For you, you're foregoing 6 months of a year to I would say playing consistent good golf. You're kind of going through the mountains and the valleys of this is what a swing change is.
Yeah.
For 2 years from now, you're oh, I'm in control of my golf swing.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, it's okay, for the next 3 months, I'm not going to practice a ton. I'm not going to play a ton. I'm going to play in the Waste Management qualifier. But other than that, I'm not going to play golf 3 or 4 times a week, because I know if I do, there's a pretty realistic risk that I don't get better.
And it's another setback.
And it's just going to be another setback. So I know a year from now, I'm going to wake up and not have to worry about, is my body moving correctly? I took care of that now, so that 7 months, 8 months, a year from now,
you can play the Nevada Open.
I can play in whatever I want without ever having that doubt creep back into my mind.
Yeah. So given the timeline, I know where you said about end of January, beginning of February, what's changed as far as you just said you can start hitting golf balls again, but is there other either exercise or movements they're having you do as the next phase, or what's that all look like as far as the plan and where you're at on it?
Yeah, so my plan is pretty much month by month to kind of up the usage of my, up the mobility.
Okay.
Pretty much, for those of you who understand the spine, my lumbar spine doesn't move pretty much, it's stuck. So the exercises and what I do is to get the mobility in that area of my body moving.
Try to challenge it.
Pretty much. So I'm doing, when I'm at the chiropractor, I'm doing specific exercises to get things mobile. When I'm at home, I'm taking probably an hour a day to stretch, the correct things to get my body working. Kyle's putting me on a new plan to pretty much engage my core more, because if the core doesn't fire, my back does the work, and so that's where I've run into a lot of trouble. So on a week by week, month by month basis, I'm seeing how my body's reacting, I'm adjusting to it, I'm giving myself different exercises to do.
Right.
But a lot of it's just being disciplined enough to do it at home, because obviously when I go there and they work with me, I'm going to improve slightly. But if I don't do anything outside of there, it's going to take me a lot longer to do so. So I should see a better return health-wise a lot quicker.
You'll get better quicker.
Well, it's just like golf. If you're going to work on something and you give yourself, if you only work 2 hours a day for 1 day a week, like you're not going to get as good as, someone who works 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. Like it's just obviously the more time you put in,
Yeah, it's a math equation.
you're going to see the results a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So like for you coming away from Nevada, obviously embarrassed and like where the hell do I go with my golf game? Like what's your plan of attack look like until you get to your next tournament? So
Yeah.
that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. So what I've done is I look back and all the videos my coach and I will go back and forth on, and key takeaways or drills he's given me, and I've come up with essentially 4 different, you call it workout plans. So it's like when I have a chance to go practice, it's very regimented, because I think there is something to be said for if it's something's too redundant where you almost get lackadaisical and you're like,
Yeah,
I'm just going through the motions.
Just go through the motions.
It's a checklist.
Yeah.
All of a sudden. So they're different enough, but they apply to the same things where I feel like I'm a little more challenged. It's like, how did I do this one again? I know the purpose, but how do I get into it? And so I've started that this is like week 2 of it. And I mean, it's definitely challenging. It's like, there's some drills I'm really good at. There's some drills where I'm bad at again. And it's like, okay, that's interesting.
Yep.
Thinking, well, I've gotten better in the overall move, so the drill should be easy, but some are and some not. It just depends on how much I've practiced them or when I've practiced them. But that's going to be the tentative plan. I have like a partner tournament in January, which will be fun. So I think that'll be a good test, but nothing under too much duress. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I think the Phoenix Open qualifier comes up before I'm going to fly out and see my coach, because he lives in Nevada. And I'm like, I'm looking forward to that, because I'm big on like hands-on. So it's like, this guy, like, I think I'll make 3 months worth of improvement in the 2 hours I'm going to see him versus the online setting where I know I'm improving, but it's just online's different.
Totally.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And then after January, I think I'll kind of have that leapfrog moment of, okay, like I kind of know what we're trying to do here, and I think I'll get another boost of confidence, and then we'll just kind of keep humming on. But it's been, I guess, challenging myself in my practices so they're not all the same. And like you said, Kyle, our trainer, like what he's been telling me, what I'm working with my coach on, like it all kind of feeds the same stuff. It lines up with what we talk about all the time here at Elite. Just hearing it from different perspectives gives me more confidence of like, everyone I talk to about the swing or just general movements on the same page. So it's refreshing, and there's more just buy-in of like, okay, they're not saying this and this person's saying that. It's like, who do I believe? It's like, nope, we're all funneling on the same message. So it's like, great. So that gives me more confidence going in. What's it been like essentially being on the sidelines as far as practicing as much as you'd want, even just playing golf to play it rather than playing in competition? Yeah. What's it been like not being able to do the thing that you really enjoy for the 3 months? You know it's going to work out in the end, but still you have to wait those 90-ish days until you're green light and you can kind of go back to what was normal. Yeah,
it's funny because like a week into working with the chiropractor, like I could tell things were starting to improve quickly. And so like I was less pain, like almost no pain within 2 weeks. And so like every time, like, I mean, obviously we spend every day at work at the golf course.
Yeah.
So like when I was at the golf course, I was just like, you have that itch of just one swing.
Give me a club.
Just one swing. Like it's not going to hurt me one swing. But I know if I make one swing, I'm going to be here for an hour.
It's the dreaded one more ball.
Yeah. So it's like I've disciplined myself enough to where like if I am going to go practice, like I went and played 9 holes yesterday with the kids.
Yeah.
But I knew my body was in a much better spot. Like the chiropractor's telling me this. I can feel it myself. Like, so I can kind of gauge when I can take it with my body. But like today and tomorrow, I'm not going to hit golf balls because I just played 9 holes yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's regulating kind of how much time I put into it. Like if I hit golf balls, I don't hit more than 20 golf balls. So I'm just being very disciplined and listening to my body.
And just slowly ramping
There's
up.
days when I wake up and I'm like, well, I feel great. And I maybe can do some things that I couldn't do the day before.
Yeah.
And then there's a day like where today I woke up and I'm feeling Kyle's and I'm feeling after playing golf.
Just like, no.
So like I know my body and I don't feel as well. So it's like today I'm like, I didn't even bring my clubs with. So I've disciplined myself and I've come up like with you and Tyler are doing. Like I have a very kind of, it's not structured, but in my brain, I
know what you're
know like I cannot practice more than like 3 days a week, and it can't be more than like an hour.
Yeah.
Right. Because I know what my body can take at the moment. And like we're talking about, like, 3-4 months from now, I'm going to be able to go to the golf course and do whatever I want for however long I want to, because I've kind of pushed myself away now, so that I don't, re-injure myself or re-aggravate what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, well, like when I listen to you talk about Nevada, it's like you played in a golf tournament. I threw my spine out of place. Completely different sides of the spectrum, but I see similarities in kind of like we have to deal with stuff that we absolutely do not want to deal with.
Yeah, you have to.
I don't want to deal with shooting 93. Okay, I don't want to deal with my spine being 3 inches out of place. And you look at like what we've both gone through, completely different things. But you're right. In the moment, it's like
the sky's falling.
Well, absolutely. It'd be unrealistic to ask someone to not like emotionally respond to something very traumatic, like either way or whatever. Like
whatever it is,
someone can go through anything, and it can be like crappy, and like it's going to be called adversity. The best way to kind of handle it is like, I agree, you need to have a plan for it. I would almost go one step further, like you need to have someone else help you come up with a plan.
That's good.
Because if you try and do it by yourself, it's hard to be objective by yourself.
Yeah, you're kind of
emotionally invested. But if you sit
invested.
down with someone else and you're like, hey, I need to come up with a plan, someone from an outside perspective can really like kind of just be like, hey, here's how it is. Like, here's what I see. Here's what you need to do. And if you see it from someone else, specifically someone that has like an expertise in what you're doing, like for me, it's my body. For you, it's your golf game. Like we're seeking out professionals asking for their opinion. Yeah. So when they tell you something or they give you an opinion, like it has merit to it. So you're more inclined to be like, okay, I trust you. Here's my plan. And then it just comes down to being disciplined.
Yeah.
And I would consider discipline, and I would just ask yourself, like how long do you want this to take? Because if you don't want to be disciplined, that's fine, but you have to understand that it's going to take years for this to work itself out.
Yeah, you're
whatever
in charge
it is,
of it.
Financials, your golf game, my body, like it doesn't matter. You're in charge of what you're doing. So if you aren't disciplined, or you aren't as disciplined to what's going on, it's going to take you a heck of a lot longer. Whereas if you're really disciplined and you understand that you're going to give up some short-term, gains and some short-term, enjoyment for the long-term benefits, then it's going to be a lot quicker process. You might enjoy it a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, it's going to be like, oh, I'm really glad I did that.
I think it's a perfect.
All right, guys, we appreciate you tuning in and listening. Again, if you don't follow us on Spotify or you aren't subscribed to us on YouTube, please do so. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.